Hey. And we're in. We're in.
It was all set from the live show yesterday.
There it was. Our amazing live show. Well, let's try that again. Roman Reigns, after almost 4 years, has finally been pinned. We can finally stop saying Baron Corbin was the last person to pin Roman Reigns, because now we have Jey Uso. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen, DAD. Welcome to our WrestleTalk Podcast review of Money in the Bank 2023. If you haven't already, please press the thumbs up button, press the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of Money in the Bank and send in your, what's the appropriate?
We called them yesterday on the live stream, the bank statements.
Get in your bank statements to help WrestleTalk's bank balance to WrestleTalk.com/support. I will read out every single one of them. Over $5. But wow. What a main event.
What a main event it was.
A long main event.
Well, it was what, half hour?
It was 33 minutes of in-ring action.
I would wager a good 20 of that was neck cranks from Solo.
A lot of nerve pinches.
Nerve pinches.
So afterwards, after the show, because of course we did our watch party, loads of people loved it. And then one guy, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, came up to me and was like, I didn't like it. I thought there's always one.
Was it Andy?
Always one. And I said, well, why didn't you like it? I disagree, respectfully, but why didn't you like it? And he said, it felt really long and not much happened. And I could not argue because, it is, those last 5 minutes are what transforms the whole match, really.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, for me, it was a standard Roman match, which is a lot of slow walking around. You know, a tag in a Roman Reigns match takes 5 times longer than it does in any other match because there's cinema, there's character work to be done. And for me, that's kind of what makes a Roman match so spectacular. Like, there was a moment when Roman and Solo went to the outside to speak with Paul Heyman. In any other match where their heels are talking with their manager, it's just a quick 2-second, 5-second thing, and then you get back into it. In a Roman Reigns match, no, that is a 30 seconds to 1 minute character exposition moment where Paul Heyman explains the plot to the audience, and then the wrestlers then use that as their character to fuel the next part of the match.
Do you want your sons sitting at his table? Essentially what Paul Heyman said there. And Solo somehow still manages to be awesomely badass while trying to find his mark for the camera shot. Because in that particular shot, Paul and Roman are talking, and Solo just walks across the camera and then turns around, crosses his arms in the perfect position. He did that on the SmackDown episode as well, so he was always framed between Jey and Roman. I think, in general, after decades of mocking WWE's cinematography, and even though Kevin Dunn is reportedly by and large still in control, visually this feels like a far more accomplished product. Because of stuff like that. Later on, when we talk about the Damian Priest hand coming out from beneath the shot, you didn't see him in the shot.
It's a very NXT moment. I think what Triple H, his form of directing is what can be a GIF.
Yeah.
Like, what can be shared the following day as a GIF on Twitter. That's the shot I want.
The other thing that drags out Roman matches is, of course, for podcast listeners, I am reacting to a crowd.
So
they're heated.
For an example, we got this clip. This was shared by Sean Rossap from the crowd yesterday. For any viewers who are not English or British, what the crowd are chanting is, stand up if you hate Roman. Stand up if you hate Roman.
It's to the tune of the Pet Shop Boys' Go West, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go West. Something.
Go West. And this is basically how Roman reacted to it. Obviously, we can still be heard.
Look, we're on either side. Let's react to it.
Yeah, so
You've got to look at me.
There we go. Stand up. And everyone starts to stand up, because if you hate Roman, you stand up. And you can see Roman there reacting to this, telling everyone to sit down.
He then sits down, doesn't he?
Well, that's it. It's just like, well, do you know what? I don't hate Roman Reigns. So I think the best course of action for me to do, wait for it, is to sit down.
Yeah. That is some top-tier improvisation.
It was my favorite moment of the whole match when he sat down because he does not hate Roman.
Yeah. Thankfully, they didn't go the next step, which is shoes off.
Oh, they did.
Oh, they did.
I actually thought that they were just trying to do it again and Roman wasn't reacting to it. And I was like, oh, it's a bit lame when you try and do it a second time. But no, they were doing the shoes off if you hate Roman. Because there's another video going around of people waving their shoes in the air.
So encumbersome.
So we used to do it mostly for Zach Gibson. It was almost like saved exclusively for Zach Gibson.
But you had these 20-25 minutes. And I get why people will be bored of that. Me personally, I've really gotten into the groove. It's like when you like genre movies or you like a certain style of someone's match, you know when they're going to hit the spots. But Roman's spots just so happen to be long, prolonged, extended, like initial period, ref bump, visible pin, a new family member interferes. Like we've seen it over and over and over again. And people have been bored of it on and off. You know, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. I think, Clash at the Castle really worked because you had Solo's involvement. The Royal Rumble as well, because you had the stuff at the end with the Sami Zayn babyface turn. But then like others with the Cody stuff that just didn't feel imaginative enough. But you needed, like you needed the first 20-25 minutes of this match to make it feel epic for those 5 minutes to really pay off. You needed 2 years of the same match template for when Jey and Jimmy simultaneously kick out the double pin. It was one of the more mind-blowing bits in modern wrestling.
If I may, I would compare Roman Reigns matches in this Bloodline era to that classic Okada run. One of the criticisms against Okada's run there was, he kept getting these 5-star matches, every match for these 5-star matches. But people watch it, was like, but nothing really happens for those first 20 to 25 minutes. You can all more or less not watch the first 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Just tune in for the final 15 minutes, and that's when you get all of the great wrestling. But all that great wrestling is set up by those 20 to 25 minutes at the start here. And I feel that's the same with Roman matches. Sure, nothing happens for 2/3 of the matches, but it's all context that builds for that final third.
Yeah, if you just opened with those 5 minutes, it wouldn't feel the same.
Nope.
And it's I would you can have versions of that where it is a bit tedious. We both said Okada's matches eventually, even for the converted, became a bit tedious. But I was always into this because of Roman's star power, because of how into all the characters I am. Like just the suspense of, well, what's going to happen next? What is Solo going to do? Very early on, Roman was just like, tag me in. And Solo just stood there. And everyone was like, oh, what's going to happen here?
I turned to the guy next to me at our live watch band and said, that's the moment. Because I'd convinced myself that Solo was going to turn in the match and he was going to give Roman the spike. And that was what was going to set up for the Usos to win. As it turns out, the Usos just won clean.
Yeah. So really, really good stuff. The presentation, everything. But let's talk about these last 5 minutes where we really get into the Roman template and the subversion of the Roman template expectations. So first of all, awful ref bump.
Terrible ref bump.
No, a great ref bump. But he got it. It looked like he got injured.
I would say everyone in the crowd at our live event yesterday had one of two reactions. Either, seen this, the ref bump, and the other one was, ref bump was rubbish.
Out of order. It was Rudy Charles, the best
you can't
referee
just
working
like
today.
it because it's Rudy Charles.
I think it was a good ref bump. I think he genuinely hurt himself when he got his leg caught up on the ropes.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of in camp number one, which was like, oh, okay, cool. Now the final part of the match is happening.
I just had Blompier in front of me all the time going, oh, what a rubbish ref. Oh, he's so small. I was like, I know you're
That's
doing
what makes
this.
him great.
Yeah. So we got the ref bump and we got the Usos get a pin. They hit the 1D on Roman and then the tides turn.
It's so funny because the commentaries, like, they hit the 1D and they were pinning Roman and they count to like 10. And then eventually Jey gives up. And Wade Barrett on commentary was like, there's no way of knowing if Roman wouldn't have kicked out of it if the referee was there.
So I haven't, because all of my notes are from the watch party, which is a bit more chaotic than doing it at home like I usually do. So was there a spike and a spear on Jey?
A combination spike and spear.
That's awesome.
Onto Jey. And they'd already taken out Jimmy as well with the spike as well. And then they did the double stack pin callback to WrestleMania last year when they did it with Danielson and Edge.
Great spot.
So good.
And then the referee gets back in. It's a slow count. Roman's pinning both. We've gone back and watched Tempest's reaction to this.
So grumpy.
Oh, he looks like a grumpy grumpy. He's there like, I'm not even going to react for the cameras, even though that's what I'm here to do. I'm just upset that Roman's going to win again.
I've lost my championship. I'm upset about it.
And then the kick out. And Roman's face was like, remember Triple H's face when Undertaker kicked out? And he was like, oh, this was the hysterical breakdown version of that. Roman's like almost crying. And it was a great kick out.
He is it one of the first times I think we've seen in Roman since this Bloodline thing where he does not know what to do.
And I love how Solo instantly does know what to do. And it is stay on him. And Solo takes charge. He's beating up Jimmy. He's beating up Jey.
He starts barking at Roman. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Stay on them. And he's like, Roman's there. And Roman's like, yeah. No, that is what we should do. So he like starts mounting Jey to throw down the punches.
Which is such an incredible way to take this story. That, especially with the SmackDown installment where you had the Usos going, well, I think I acknowledge Solo Sikoa as head of the table, as the tribal chief. And Roman's like, no, whatever. And then in this moment when Roman had to rise to the challenge, he crumbled.
Sure did.
And Solo stepped up. Anyway, Solo's taken out by himself, really. Splashed through a table. Jimmy moved. And then inside, what did we get?
Super kicks.
Jey kicked out of a spear, and he kicked out with the low blow to Roman.
As a callback to their clash match that they had back during the pandemic.
In 2020.
Also, the guillotine on Jimmy, which was what caused Jey to say, I quit in their Hell in a Cell match.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I've stopped making notes at this point because I'm just into the match. But yeah, then we got the Usos came back, super kicks, and Jey gets tagged in for the splash on Roman. 1, 2, 3. An incredible new chapter to this story, and one that still seems like it's got infinite possibilities. All of them exciting. I imagine we're going towards Roman versus Jey at SummerSlam, but then there's this Solo Sikoa momentum that's happening really neatly and organically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After the match, I was thinking about this today. Hogan always used to tell this story. It's bollocks because it's a Hogan story. But he talks about when he put over Warrior at Mania. But he said, but the crowd weren't watching Warrior when that match was over. They were watching me leave because I just lost the title. It's not true. Absolutely not what happened. But in this moment, like one of the things I found really interesting looking at people's reactions to this is that the Usos are celebrating in the ring and they walk up the ramp and everyone's cheering them. Instantly, I was like, but where's Roman? And they're going back because now the interesting was like, well, what's Roman's reaction to this? And there's a lot of fan captured footage of Roman at ringside, almost like crying into his hands, like as this world crumbles around him, his family has completed, and his whole world that he has been building, his empire has fallen to pieces, and he's just taken his first pinfall loss in 3.5 years. It is fascinating. It's so good.
So before we get on to the chats, how does the WrestleMania Night 2 booking decision factor into all of this?
Easy answer, Cody's not part of the story. Like in the same way that Kevin was not the main player, Sammy was not the main player, Cody was not the main player. This is about Roman and the Usos and Solo. It's their story. They were just bit parts to this story. Cody's whole finish the story thing, I don't think he knows what that story is anymore, and I don't think WWE are telling that story either. Because in the press conference, he said, "Well, I don't want to win the World Heavyweight Championship. That's not the story I'm trying to finish. The belt I want to win is the one that my dad never won. That belt doesn't exist at the moment. It's a mustard-covered belt that is hiding a blue belt that is also hiding the belt that he wants to win. That belt that's not there." So that's how it plays into it. Cody's not part of this story anymore. The story is all about the bloodline.
But do you remember, like, after WrestleMania, and we're like, oh my God, they've screwed the big dog pooch. It's not going to get the momentum back. And Triple H, they're like, you just have to watch it play out.
Yeah, well, what he said was, stories don't end in WWE.
Yeah, and then we had a month of just repetitive quite boring stuff
Yep.
with the Usos and no Roman.
When Roman wasn't there.
But as soon as Roman came back, it has been genuine top-tier wrestling storytelling again for a couple of months now. And it still is.
Mhm.
And the most recent chapter is as good as any of the other angles that have come before it. So was Triple H right?
No, because I still think this has the emotional weight to it, even if Cody had won.
So even if Roman didn't have the belt?
Yeah, I think because it's still Jey pinned Roman.
Yeah,
that's the emotional thing.
But Cody would have pinned him.
Yeah, but it's Jey pinning Roman. Like, yeah, there is a different side of emotional because it's the first time it's been pinned in 3.5 years. But there is a different part of the emotion of Jey getting his moment over Roman that he's been looking for the last 2 years. It's kind of like leveled up in Winnipeg a little bit because it's the 3.5 years.
And the fact that Roman's champion and you can build a title fight afterwards.
But I think it's also sacrificed just so much stuff that's happening on the other side of the pond within WWE of introducing this new title.
Got a new belt.
Yeah, which like no one cares about. And so I think it's a little bit, and like Cody's just like mired in obscurity feuding with Dominic Mysterio, and a feud that felt like it was fun, but ultimately was pointless. I still think I will die on this hill that Cody should have won at Mania. But I get what. But I'm not saying that what we're getting is bad. I'm just saying it would have been different, and it still would have been good, even with that Cody win.
Yeah, I think it's definitely better with Roman not having been pinned and with the belts. I think when I look back on the Cody booking, I just wanted something better. If you're gonna beat Cody, come up with a better finish, because it was that was one of the ones where I'm like, I've just seen this over and over again. And you did it at WrestleMania, and to end this, well, that part of that feud,
it also slightly undermines night one for me.
Yeah, but I almost counted them out, and to Triple H's credit, they've made it absolutely fantastic again. Should we see what everybody says on the bank statements, which is what we're calling the chats today? Get them into WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them over $5.
So we're kicking things off with Nate. This is actually from last night's stream, but was missed. Thank you all so much for joining us on last night's live stream reactions from the Long Arm Pub and Brewery. And thank you especially to everyone who came down to our live watch-along party. Had a great time.
We met Bacon Rasher.
We did.
We met Starbucks Stephen Costa.
Yeah, when Bacon Rasher, I met him at the bar, and he told me his name. His surname's Bacon. I went, yeah, Rasher.
And he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was a cheeky chap.
He was a very nice chap.
Yeah.
Very good. And yeah, Starbucks Stephen Acosta as well. It was awesome meeting all these people and seeing some familiar faces from some previous parties we've done as well. But this was from last night's show. Nate just says, what a show. Here's hoping that Jey dethrones Roman at SummerSlam. So that is, I suppose, the question. Is Jey the guy to put this title on? Or do you just do Cody Roman 2 at Mania? Like, are you into the idea of Cody Roman 2 at Mania?
I am, yeah. And I think Cody is a better champion for that than Jey. But maybe you could have the belt on someone else for Cody to defeat. It kind of makes more sense for Cody to defeat Seth. I feel like that's... He
doesn't want that belt.
He is Cody's Joker, yeah, but maybe just put the real belt on Seth at some point. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I love Jey, and I think he's done everything absolutely. He's hit it out the park. But top champion material, I still don't see it.
In a world with one belt, I would have agreed with you. Now there's 2 belts. I think you can take the risk, and it actually doesn't matter.
But we've been saying for years, like, well, who's the guy that Roman puts over? And we're like, well, that guy isn't there yet. Maybe it's Bron Breakker. Even though Jey Uso was there all the time, we never said him.
No, well, that's because it was, the answer was there in front of us. We just didn't see it then. We could not see the story that they're telling at that point. But I'm glad that I missed it because I'm really enjoying what we're getting out of this. Matt Hennessy said, I was at Money in the Bank and I've never heard a bigger pop live than I did when Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns. We all lost our goddamn minds. Lost my voice. I was cheering so loud. Triple H wins again. Also, I noticed on Twitter this morning that when Drew returned, he said the rumors of Drew's demise from WWE were untrue, which tells Drew has re-signed or is close to. Honestly, being there live was great. In the moment, I'll never forget. Maybe I'm biased because I was there, but it was my show of the year going in as well.
Yeah, great show. I think WrestleMania Night 1, better show. but this is right up there.
Yeah, the matches that needed to deliver delivered. Both the ladder matches and the main event delivered. Everything else that was totally fine.
Okay.
And the John Cena bit was great. Will Campbell said that main event was something special. Everything about it was amazing, from Solo's doubts to Roman's distress to the Spear of Doom Samoan spike double kick out to Jey pinning Roman after the cock low blow kick out. Absolute cinema. George Todd said, fun fact, the way that Jey pinned Roman was the exact same way he pinned Roman for Roman's first pin in WWE. That was and I believe this is right, Money in the Bank.
What?
Yeah. And on the pre-show, it was the Usos versus the Shield.
No way.
I believe that's right.
Oh my God, so much context.
Dan, hey guys, what a pay-per-view. LA Knight should have won. Yeah. But the Priest win makes it interesting with Balor. As I've said before and said again, Jey beats Roman for the titles. I know he's not Cody levels, but it's the perfect ending at SummerSlam or at Payback. Payback, I think, is such an interesting one. And since this pin, that's become even more interesting. I hadn't really thought about it much until Dave Bradshaw said in the office, like, oh, it's where Roman won the title. And I like, oh, that's quite poetic for him to lose the title at the same pay-per-view he won it. But
it's called Payback.
Yeah, but then there's the argument of, do you want Roman to end this epically long title run on a B-level show?
WWE don't do B-level shows anymore.
So it's a good argument. Cluns Killer said, WrestleMania in London, definitely not combative booking, but in all seriousness, looking forward to what Jey and Roman do at SummerSlam and as summer unfolds. Jack Nichols says, what a crescendo to the greatest effing kickouts I've ever seen. Goosebumps for the intro package, goosebumps for the entrances, goosebumps for the stare down, frustration with sycophant Wade, leaps for the kickouts, tears for the finish. Thank you, WrestleTalk. Love you all.
Oh, love you too.
Brett says, have you guys seen the video on YouTube, The Unreality of Pro Wrestling? It's a phenomenal video essay about how we, the audience, the reason that Roman has become the tribal chief and why he needs to be acknowledged by everyone, and he hides it behind his ego.
I haven't watched it yet.
No.
But my YouTube keeps serving it to me. It's by Super Eye Patch Wolf.
I love Super Eye Patch Wolf. So it's been like, I'll get to that when I get some free time. And I haven't had that free time.
It's like an hour 20 long.
Yeah. Well, just got time to spare.
Who's got time to watch stuff that's an hour 20 long?
I've got Raw to watch. But anyway, once again, thank you so much to everyone who came to our live show last night. And thank you to everyone who tuned into our live reactions. We've got clips of those live reactions here on the podcast channel. Clips of us reacting to the Roman kickouts. Yeah. Oh, sorry, the double stack pin outs, double stack kickouts, and the Jey pin. As well as John Cena effectively announcing, or I guess now is holding the city of London to ransom for doing WrestleMania in London, which we'll get to in a bit.
Keep getting those chats in at WrestleTalk.com/support. Right, this pay-per-view, premium live event, my apologies, I'll never get used to it, opened with an excellent sequence, which was all done in the style of James Bond, because they are in the UK, and we have buses.
We're famous for a few things.
We have taxis.
It was either going to be James Bond or Paddington.
Yeah. That would have been a vibe clash, wouldn't it?
What have they done, like, in the style of Great British Bake Off? So it's just, like a bit of icing sugar on some ladders.
They should have done, when they do the WrestleMania in London, they should have loads of, like, little promos like that, where it's all the WWE stars trying to do quaint British shows,
reenacting moments,
countdown and stuff like that,
reenacting the moments from "Come Dine with Me." He said, "I hope you enjoy your win." Karen,
yeah. But it was really good. Blompier was in front of me, and he likes James Bond a lot, and he was like, "Oh my God, I made it just for me." Shut up, you mark. It opened on the men's Money in the Bank match day, which was a great way to start things because LA Knight was probably the most over thing on the show going in.
So during our live reactions, we weren't at Money in the Bank, but it was in that moment there, and I knew this ahead of time, but this was almost like the confirmation that I needed. I would much rather have been in the Long Arm Pub and Brewery with everyone there because the reactions to everyone coming out was so incredible to be a part of. And LA Knight, man, when that boy's music hits, the O2 exploded, but the Long Arm exploded as well. There were, because I don't know if you noticed this, people on the street walking past the pub who just heard these incredible reactions happening inside. So we're looking through the window to see what we were watching or what was going on. Yeah, like proper, like hands up to the window to see who is making all of this noise?
What's all this sound? Oh, it's wrestling. But this was a great match. I've sort of said my piece already in my review, if you want to go and watch that on the WrestleTalk News channel. But I said it was pretty much structured around the threat of Logan Paul winning. You had 3 real contenders here. It was Damian Priest, LA Knight, Logan Paul. I was really rooting for Logan Paul. I thought he had the most upside in terms of, well, he could cash it in and actually win, and it would be just crazy heat. Just the fact of him winning over LA Knight would be really good. And he could disappear. He could just go away for a while. So when he returns, wow, big surprise. As opposed to what we will get, which is like 3 segments a week on Raw. I'm Damian Priest. I'm coming down for a match with my briefcase.
I was on the Paul bandwagon as well, just because
You're pulling for Paul.
I was pulling for Paul in some way, just because I thought it was the most chaotic of choices. Also because my big pitch was he wins the opening Money in the Bank ladder match, cashes in on Seth on that same night and wins the world title, and then you do Seth Logan 2 at SummerSlam where Rollins wins it back. That's good. Because it accomplishes all things. Gets you the moment with Logan winning the belt and all that heat, the moment of Logan winning the belt, a full month of Logan's whatever he does with the belt.
In Prickstick, I think is his show.
That's it, something like that, with his little energy drink things for 6-year-olds, and then he loses the belt a month later. It's a perfect use of Logan Paul, and a way to kind of try and get this new world title over. What they instead went with, I think, is not the lesser of the 3 options. Like LA Knight, I don't even think was like the best option. It was just the most over option in there, because when we were talking to people there about LA Knight winning, no one was saying like, oh, he's going to cash in on Roman or he'll cash in on Jey. They were just like, oh yeah, he'll probably cash in on Theory. And I was like, that's
not 2 years in a row for the US title.
Lame. Yeah. I think it's so lame to have the Money in the Bank and try and cash in on a secondary title. So it just felt like that was, not the best option, probably the most over option. But Damian Priest is the one that has the most storyline upside, because you've got this sort of split within Judgment Day. There's this JD McDonough thing that's kind of hanging over. I say hanging over. They did it for 1 week and then have not really referenced it for the last 4. But you've got this sort of split, this fracture between Finn and Priest. This almost sectioning off with Damian, with Dom and Rhea. So I think there's more storyline upside.
And Bailey's in the Judgment Day as well now?
Absolutely, it is, yeah. It was Samantha Irvin said that Mummy got her flustered. And that's why she made her mistake.
Got me flustered.
So there's storyline upside to Damian Priest winning, even if I think he was the 3rd best choice for this match.
Yeah, it's the right choice, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love Damian Priest. Last couple of shows, he's been one of the standout performers. The Puerto Rican show in Backlash.
Exactly. When I on the prediction show and on the Raw podcast we did leading up to, I was like, I think Priest is the clear favorite to win here because he's done nothing but take L's since WrestleMania, and that's the WWE format: is you beat them like a drum, then you just give them Money in the Bank. It's well, none of that matters anymore. So yeah, I think this is the right choice. We did 3 counts, and a lot of us were like, sure, why not?
Yeah,
and that's a bit of Damian Priest here, but
I think it's better. Well, it depends on the follow-up.
I think there's some good follow-up to be had with this, which we actually got kind of later on in the evening.
The match itself, though, I thought was a really, really good ladder match. Just to go over the Logan Paul spots first, we had the me and you, which I thought of. I thought of you.
Me and Pete just looked at each other like, they're doing the thing. Me and you against them.
Do you know what's sad about that?
What's that?
Pete was next to me, and I had already been looking at you doing that. You turned around, saw Pete, did it to Pete. I was still doing it, looking at you, and then you just looked back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was like I was there for ages with my hand up for a high five. You turned around, high five Pete, and then ignored me again.
Sorry, bud.
It's okay.
But I very much enjoyed that. I suppose the big spot to talk about in this match is it was a mess.
Well, there was the other. He did a really big frog splash off the apron onto Priest, onto a ladder bridge before that.
No give.
And he just bounced off. He sold it great. And then someone threw a bottle of Prime at him, which I thought was hilarious. I said in my review, it made me feel really patriotic because that's what we do. We throw things at Americans.
before WrestleMania, I'd never heard of Prime.
Yeah, well, I think it's relatively new.
But but when it happened, like everyone knew what it was. Like in the live chat, it was like, oh, it's come out as a Prime bottle, and everyone was like, and like he had Prime in his like when he signed with WWE last year or whatever it was. Never heard of it until WrestleMania. I can't move for it now. It's being sold in my local Sainsbury's.
Good marketing. Well, apparently that wasn't just a random throwing the bottle. It was KSI at ringside.
Was it really?
And he's done a TikTok of him throwing the Prime bottle. They are smart. But thank you to all 200 comments that have told me it was KSI on my review.
Oh, that's actually ruined the spot for me.
It's helpful. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's helpful. There's actually like 10 people there telling me
it's KSI. Yeah. Thank you. Because I need it over and over again. It's great comment engagement. But yeah, sorry, the other spot, everyone's up on the ladders. I can't remember who was thrown off one side, but LA Knight pushes Ricochet and Logan Paul off the ladder onto the top rope.
So, am I right in thinking the spot here was supposed to be that they would go off the ladder, land on the top rope, springboard and do some somersaults through the two tables that were there? Because that in itself also sounds relatively dangerous. Because at least when they did it with the during TLC 2, they put like 20 tables out there to make sure that everyone was going to land safely. What actually happened though was that they just hit the ropes, both fell down, both struggled to climb back up, both fell down again, struggled to climb back up, and then Ricochet was like, I'm taking you over.
Yeah.
Just grabbed him and muscled him over into a Spanish fly. Logan Paul, because he's incredibly athletic, was like, okay, went over, but landed like head first into the tables.
He on the replays, he does roll enough, I think, so he gets he lands on the upper back as opposed to the crown of his head, which is where he was going. It was one of those moments that takes you out of the match, but also, especially because you saw quite quickly everyone was okay. Hilarious.
Yeah. And I'm sure as well that all the people who were clutching their pearls over the Tiger Driver spot last week will be equally as freaking out about this. Let me just check. No. No, they are not clutching their pearls over this one.
Well, AEW's dangerous. But yeah, it was a crazy spot to do. Brian Alvarez has pointed out, usually when you do that spot, it's just one guy. Because you bounce off easy. Not easy, but relatively achievable under physics. But have you ever jumped on a trampoline?
Yeah.
And you both jump at the same time and you go higher. But if someone jumps slightly before you,
you get the recoil.
And you stop.
Yeah.
You stop dead. So they both had to hit that top rope at exactly the same time to pull this off.
Incredible how they managed. How they managed to save that spot was genuinely impressive.
Oh, I debate your use of the word save.
Okay. Complete that spot.
I debate your use of the word complete. But it was good because the whole point of this match was the crowd hated Logan Paul. And all the wrestlers, heel or face, also hated Logan Paul. So the continued thing was, Logan Paul might win. Logan Paul's doing some heel tactics. Someone takes him out in a big, satisfying way as well.
Really, but yeah, it wasn't just safe for that opening one where all the other six beat him up. They actually continued that throughout the match. It was really, really fun. Helped a lot by a very, very hot UK crowd that were, particularly for this opening match, willing to make this the loudest thing that any wrestling fans ever heard.
I think everyone really pulled their weight here. Santos Escobar was pretty much filler. He did all these spots, but he didn't really have standout bits. I found myself getting super into Pete Dunne. There was a spot near the end where he suddenly found himself at the top. He snapped two sets of guys' fingers. And I was just like, oh, screw it. Let him win. Yeah, give him the briefcase.
Yeah.
And he got pushed off. But I thought Pete Dunne was consistently excellent in this. Butch. That early bit when he went, the come on with Nakamura.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
When Nakamura went up to him and did the bruiserweight pose, I was like, oh, it is on. And I really can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and there was another bit where just all 7 men found themselves in the ring, about 2/3 into the match, and they just looking at each other, and they went, come on. It was so good.
Cool. It was excellent.
I'm just scrolling through my notes, see if Butch hit a moonsault off a ladder outside. Ricochet did a 450 on Santos and Pete Dunne, I think. Butch on a ladder bridge inside. Just great work.
This was also a night of setting up ladder bridges that fell and then like trying to find ways. Like, that's one of my favorite things in wrestling at the moment is watching wrestlers, thinking of them in the back being like, how can we make this ladder bridge look like it's a natural thing for us to set up? And no one's really quite worked it out yet. No. But I'd love to see him try.
After that, we got the Women's Tag Team Championship match, which was Ronda and Shayna versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Liv was worked over for 7 minutes, and then Shayna beat up her own partner. That is literally all that happened.
Yeah, this match was pretty boring.
What? There was no setup for this in the match.
But Ollie, the outfit that she was wearing told you what was going to happen ahead of time.
Shayna Baszler had a Space Marines outfit on.
Yes, that was the first person to betray something or other, and that's
Horus.
What she did. Yeah, and that's what she did in the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
look, it's okay. So when this happens, I was walking through the pub last night, and a few people stopped me and said, like, "Oh, well, the rumor is Ronda's gonna be doing a UFC match. They want to do Ronda Holly Holm again, and that's going to be the first of this Endeavor UFC WWE crossover synergy type deal."
Good plan.
Apparently a commentator has talked about it. I think there's even been rumors abound, but it's mostly fan speculation. There's going to be apparently, and you can fill us a bit more in this, it's actually just they want to have Ronda babyface again so she can do a feud with Shayna.
Well, I think it's just Ronda, her contract is up this year. And one of the last things she wants to do is have a feud with Shayna, presumably put Shayna over on her way out because they're very close friends. Shayna's responsible for getting Rousey into wrestling to this degree. So, yeah. But, yeah, it does look like we're going the way of a Ronda face.
Which is a very Vince thing. Because Vince has never wanted to have Ronda be a heel because she's got such a nice smile, and that's not genuinely why he likes about Ronda. Is her smile lights up rooms, and that's why she should be a babyface. That's why he keeps saying it. Smile when you walk down to the ring, because when you smile, the whole world smiles with you. And I've been really enjoying Ronda's a strong word, but she's so much more naturally a heel. So I'm not into babyface Ronda, let alone babyface. And also, they were just talking about how we want to reestablish this women's division. We've merged these two sets of belts together so we could just have an actual women's tag team division for a change. And then they break them up 2 weeks later. 2 weeks ago, they unified these belts. And you start to think, I think Mercedes Moné was right. I think her and Trinity were right to walk out.
Yeah, the tag belts would it seems like a bit of a housekeeping run, doesn't it? Like, okay, we've got too many belts. Let's merge these two together. Maybe I can make some new belts. That's my favorite thing to do. I'm Triple H. But also, it's a device, a vehicle to split Ronda and Shayna up.
Yeah.
And you had Liv Morgan get injured. The belts had to be vacated. Whatever.
But they were going to win the belts anyway. They were probably going to win the belts at Mania had Ronda not been hurt.
This is the second premium live event in a row where I've not been into a women's division thing. Like Belair, Asuka was the last one. But the last 30 seconds of it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I didn't expect that. Sure, I'm in.
So what you're saying is Vince Russo was right all along.
Yeah, well...
Because it's the swerve, bro.
Well, no, not when stuff is good. But if stuff is boring, just throw something at the wall.
The Vince McMahon method.
Yeah. And those, when Vince McMahon threw a load of stuff at the wall, those were the most fun wrestling episodes ever.
If you throw 20 strands of spaghetti at the wall and 19 of them fall down, one of them stuck.
Oh yeah, one of them's Raw Underground, and it's come back.
Coming back, mate.
Finally.
Dapper Kato's, they'd be like, yes, my time.
I was trying to do a deep cut. He began with an A. Andre? No, not that. What was his?
Which one?
There was like a guy who never appeared ever again, and he had a legit MMA background.
Oh, Arturo Ruas.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. He went to AEW, I think. I think he was on Dark for a few weeks.
Everyone goes to AEW. So look, what I'm saying is, sure, Ronda's going to be a babyface. That's not great. Sure, this was rushed and had no real build, and And the women's tag belts feel even more undermined, and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez don't feel like actual friends. But in a couple of months, Shayna might be back to old awesome Shayna under Triple H.
Now there's a win.
And that's all I care about.
That's a win
right
I
now.
can get behind.
So I'm into that. We got Priest backstage teasing that he could cash in on any belt. It'll probably be the World Heavyweight one, though.
Yeah, probably.
Riddle versus Gunther. My most anticipated match going in.
I mean, me too. Because you and I have seen this match on, like, several Rev Pro shows.
Before they were cool.
And it was always awesome.
Mm.
I don't know what was wrong with this match.
Well, it was a really good match, I'd say. But underneath expectations.
But so far underneath expectations. Like, it's not even,
short as well.
It's not even like I had lofty expectations for this match. Like
I had high expectations.
But no, high expectations are different to lofty expectations, where
Mm.
it's like, you know, this incredible level that a match could never reach before. I didn't have that for it. I had expectations going in and being like, well, I know these two can have a great match because I've seen them do it multiple times over, and it's awesome. But this match just didn't hit the way that I think it should have done it. But really, it hasn't hit as well as a lot of other Gunther matches. Like, I thought the match he had against Sami Zayn on TV
On Raw, yeah.
was way better. The match against Kevin Owens was way better.
The Ali match
Was way better.
Way better.
The triple threat at Mania, like, it's
5 stars.
Every Gunther match has been this really, really great thing, but this was like the first 3-star Gunther match, probably even 2.25. That was like, yeah, it was fine. It was at the end of the night, I'd forgotten that it happened.
Yeah, I felt let down by this. I don't know if it's because of them, because of how much time they were given, or whatever. I like the finish though, in equal parts goofy and awesome somehow. Gunther worked over Matt's taped up ankle, and by the end, he just chopped his foot and then put him in a leg lock, and Matt Riddle tapped down immediately.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Fun finish.
Then we got Dominic. Oh, sorry, no, we didn't. Then we got freaking Drew McIntyre making his shock return.
I feel that the match was purposely not great, so that this moment could feel as big as it was.
I totally agree. Drew's music hit. The crowd went banana. Drew looked so happy. It was awesome. He's come back and, you know, just that fancy the break. There was never any frustrations or contract disputes.
Triple H, a man whose word we can always, you know, just take on board and know that it's to the letter and the truth. Told him, it's like, me and Drew, we had such a laugh reading those reports that he was unhappy. News to me that he was unhappy here.
Well, it's good to hear, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's
nice
good
to hear it was all false.
It was every single bit of it was a bit of false.
Didn't know why you take him off TV for 3 months then.
Yeah.
So Drew,
he was hurt.
Oh yeah,
he was hurt.
Needed to sort it out.
Yeah.
So
And
Drew
other
is
things to fix.
probably 100% re-signed. There's no way they're bringing him back in this higher capacity if he's going to turn up in AEW in 4 months' time.
I mean, that's what they did with Claudio. You know, they gave him that 1 month big title run to be like, "Are you going to resign that, right?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. That felt like an old WWE. I think Trips can.
You know, a leopard never changes its spots.
Changed his mustache. So Drew came out, faced off with Gunther. Gunther pie faced him. So Glasgow kiss and then a Claymore. Really fun
awesome
stuff. So presumably Gunther versus Drew. If it's SummerSlam, that's not honky tonk record breaking time.
That's only if Drew wins.
Yeah,
which he won't, because Gunther's going to break the record.
It's a credible threat, though.
It is a very good credible threat. I think it's the first credible threat that he's had, in a while.
After that, we got Dominic Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes. Dom was fantastic here, just dodging Cody, then slapping him and doing it again. And then Cody was like, and he removed the remaining bits of the cast. And Dom's face when he realized he was facing full strength Rhodes was brilliant, and he ran away.
Yeah,
it was like me playing AEW Fight Forever when I'm low on momentum, just running up that ramp, and I'm going to pose at the top.
There's a guy behind me who just went, "He's the most 80s wrestler alive," and then they did that spot, and he burst out laughing.
Yeah, it was great. Rhea Ripley sort of distracted Cody, even like pulled him off the apron at one point. The turnbuckle kind of partially came into play. But ultimately, this was a relatively easy comedy Cody win. Blocked the 619, hit a disaster kick, then the crossroads. No Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and it's not even just that there was no Brock Lesnar in this for me. It's at the end of it, I just went, what was the point in all of that then? Because I don't think this did Dom any favors. Dom is not more over for it.
Yeah.
Cody certainly is. If anything, Cody feels probably more under.
Yeah.
Like, there was a period of time when Cody was like the most over guy in the company. But on this show, far down the list, like, maybe not even in the top 5. I mean, like 6 or 7 in terms of reactions. So, yeah, I just don't think it's really achieved much of anything. In fact, my worry is they're just going to go back to it again on Raw. And then just wait for Brock to come back 2 weeks before SummerSlam.
Yeah, and do like a big, I'm not finished with you,
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it was a real shame because you don't want to get carried away with fantasy booking, but also you want something that's good. And this...
What a fine line to tread.
Yeah. This was such filler.
Yeah.
And it does feel like a fun, but pointless month for both guys who had loads of momentum, and you don't want to derail that. So it's a curious choice. I really feel like Brock coming in, costing Cody the win, is perfect. The way Cody's set up, here's my schedule, come fight me anywhere. I'm in London, oh crap. And also you give Dom a win that perfectly suits his heel character.
Yeah.
Just like how he spent all that time in prison. I beat Cody Rhodes. And Cody doesn't lose anything because Brock protected him.
Yeah. I think this
is a bit of a waste.
I think this is a bit of a waste of time, and it's a bit of a shame as well because I've been defending this on the podcast stuff. We were like, "This is a waste of Cody." I was like, "No, this is good. There's a great way to give Cody something to do in between the Brock thing. Some decent TV off the back of it. It elevates Dom as well.
Yeah.
But in the end, I egg on my face because it kind of achieved none of those things. So yeah, it was what it was.
John Cena's here.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, wabadoo, John Cena comes out.
John Cena turned up. His music hit, and it was one of those things where I didn't believe it was happening, even when he was halfway down the weird ramp. I was like, they're playing a clip from another show, aren't they?
If you go back and watch our live reactions to it, it's a double pop. Because it's a pop for the music, and then a pop when he comes out on stage.
That's a pop.
Yeah, that's a pop.
Yeah. So he comes out and he gets in the ring and he's like, oh, you guys used to hate me. And I'm still kind of doing it. I remember I was in that building 10 years ago having a row with an 8-year-old kid about how much John Cena sucks.
Yeah.
At the O2.
We were all bad people back 10 years ago.
Oh, no. I stand by it.
It did actually remind me of all of those WWE house shows that I went to when he was advertised for the tour but was never booked for them. and people bought tickets to go see John Cena and then were leaving during main events of Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens because they realised, oh, John Cena's not here. And there's all these swarms of 8-year-olds in their oversized T-shirts, bright colours walking away.
So Cena puts over how, what a great crowd, and they're all chanting Cena's awesome, but he's like, you should chant Cena sucks.
So they did.
Yep, so they did. That was funny. And he's like, the powers that be don't want you chanting that, yada yada yada. Putting forward this narrative that, I'm going off script.
No, he's incredible at pandering. Yeah. It's remarkable. I found it a very fascinating promo because John Cena's pandering promo does not work on me. But Dan next to me is like, this works on me so much.
I had people running up to me like, oh my God, John Cena's my favorite wrestler.
There's the guy stood next to the table and stuff, literally shouted out like, he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah. I was probably the same guy. And I was just like, I was just watching it like this.
Because me and you were in our mid to late 30s. So we were there during the bad times.
So I'm not cheering Poochie.
He went back to his home planet. I don't need him coming back here all the time.
So everyone was really happy. And I'm happy for you that you were happy.
Absolutely.
But I'm just standing there. You just got to understand that me and Luke aren't those people. John Cena's fine, but he doesn't do it for us. And he said, I think you guys deserve a WrestleMania, because the whole crowd were chanting WrestleMania.
Yeah. Move you into the frame a bit more.
In terms of craftsmanship of promo, he delivered everything. He had everyone in the palm of his hand. It was remarkable. But yeah, as soon as he said WrestleMania, I was like, that is an anti-AEW play if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is.
There is no way anyone was talking about a WrestleMania in the UK before AEW announced that Wembley show 2 months ago.
So they had a survey taker for fans that had gone down for the media day on Friday, which I was there for. Interviewing, I spoke with Bailey. It's fine, no big deal. She's my best friend. But they had a survey taker down there that was like hypothetical. If we did a Royal Rumble or SummerSlam in London, what of these locations is more easy for you to get to? And there was like London, Manchester, Birmingham, and Glasgow.
You're cool.
So obviously no one clicks Glasgow because it's miles away. But I think probably a lot of people ticked London. And so I think you're right in the sense of this has been in the plans for about a month and a half that we'll do a WrestleMania in London. But the really interesting thing about this segment here is that this was not an announcement that WrestleMania is happening in London. It's not. It's still not a confirmed thing. And apparently the reason they did this is because WrestleMania is a tourist attractor. The whole point of like why cities book WrestleMania in America, cities book WrestleMania because it brings tourists into those cities, and those tourists then spend money in those cities, and that helps economy and it helps local businesses and this, that, and the other. London does not need that. London is the biggest tourist attraction in London. So, in Europe, in fact. So it's
We're good enough already.
It's the biggest tourist attraction in Europe.
We've got a Madame Two Swords.
We've got Five Guys. Like people come from all over the world to see what the Nando's.
Pretz.
There's not as many as you think. And so WWE, like London doesn't need WrestleMania, but WWE need London because they could do it at Old Trafford. They could do it in Birmingham, but it hasn't got the prestige of doing it in London. But more to the point, they would not be able to break the wrestling attendance record that's just been set by All In. Particularly when you just combine both nights together, so it then becomes 200,000, a record that will never be broken.
Unless North Korea do a show.
Unless, in Wembley.
No, in North Korea, because there's that 300,000
but again,
attended show.
WWE aren't interested in, they just want to break AEW.
Yeah.
Like it is a petty move because AEW have got this attendance record that they had previously set in '92 that they now want back, that they can have for their own again. But they are now stuck between a rock and a hard place that they've made for themselves, which is we want to break that record, but we want you to pay for us to come and break that record. And London probably aren't going to pay for that. So what they did is they had John Cena go out on pay-per-view to be like, look, we want to do WrestleMania in London, but London keeps saying no. So you need to let London know that we should be able to do WrestleMania here.
Even with all the sort of cynicism there, please make it happen. I want it more than anything.
It was honest. I never thought I would hear the words WrestleMania in London. I never in a month of Sundays would have thought we would ever have a WrestleMania in London. It was incredible. They
said before the pandemic sort of derailed things, how England was going to be one of the major battlegrounds between WWE and AEW, because Tony Khan's like, boom, even over Canada, the UK, that's going to be the market I try and conquer. And, they've got more exposure on ITV and stuff than WWE do, which is essentially behind it's behind a price point with BT Sport. So for it now to really be kicking up again, like, well, this could have been happening several years back. This escalation of, well, here's a big show. Here's an even bigger show. It's like we're now getting the stuff that was reserved for North America.
Yeah.
In terms of the Madison Square Garden prestige shows.
Because people ask, why did it take them 20 years to go back to Puerto Rico? It's because, well, they were waiting for Puerto Rico to pay for them to the tourism board to go back there, to pay for them to come back. And that's what they're waiting for now. But from putting away the cynicism side of things, and I said this in the live stream last night, this is nothing but good news for wrestling fans. It is, and this is what's great about competition. This is what's great about having two major wrestling promotions competing for our money, is we benefit from this. I mean, our wallets don't, but we benefit as fans, because what we're now looking at is the possible, like, All In at Wembley in a couple of months' time. Next month, in fact, it's All In.
Yeah.
And then likely in 2 years' time, we'll have WrestleMania in London, because it's 40 in Philly. 41 apparently is Minnesota.
Right.
So it might actually be 42 that we get in London.
So 2026.
2026 it would be, unless, of course, the Minnesota rumor doesn't come to fruition and it's 41 that we get. But yeah, so it's either going to be 2025 or 2026. Either way, like, we as wrestling fans benefit from all of this. Because of AEW's moves into the UK, we got Money in the Bank here. Like, that's great news. Because of AEW going on TV, NXT got more exposure and got more money put behind it and got onto national TV, which means that wrestlers go onto national TV. It's nothing but good news for the wrestlers and for us as fans.
Yeah,
which is why I don't understand tribalism.
We'll pick up the pace bit because we've still got a few bits to get through. This segment then continued for way too long.
SpongeBob came out.
Grayson Waller came out. And he's good on the mic and everything, and he held his own, but this didn't do anything for me. Cena laid him out with an AA.
Yeah, this segment from beginning to end went longer than the World Heavyweight title match.
Women's Money in the Bank match next, which was actually my match of the night.
Same here.
I loved it. It's the best women's Money in the Bank match they've ever done, quite easly.
Easily so. By leaps and bounds.
And it was because of the character work, I thought. Zelina Vega and who else? Who was the other person who didn't do much in it? It was just Zelina Vega, actually, I think.
She was the only one going in who didn't really have a story.
Yeah, but of course you had Bayley and EO. There was some working together, dissension. Bayley eventually pushed her off the ladder there. But I got so into Trish, Becky, and Zoe.
I love this story.
This idea of like Becky and Trish hating each other, mortal enemies. They're on top of the ladder. Becky pushes her off. Trish, awful fool. Like, she's in her late 40s. She comes back up, busted nose. I'm like, where were you? Why did you come up in the noughties and not now?
I know, right?
She's so well suited to this.
She was awesome. I loved Zoe's work in this as well, because unlike Damage Control, who both wanted to win, like they, when I spoke with Bayley on Friday, she told me that, like,
you spoke to Bayley.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll just pick up that name that I dropped there, and Ellie Knight, and she told me that, look, if I win, it's a win for EO. If EO wins, it's a win for me, and that's great when you're on the same page. But they both just want to win for each other as well, for themselves. And so they were like this sort of fractured team that both just wanted to win it singularly. Zoe and Trish were the opposite. Zoe was actively trying to help Trish win this. So it was all about setting the ladders up for Trish, taking out other people for Trish so Trish could climb the ladder, so she could thank Trish for all the hard work that she's done over her career. And I love the fact that they were a strong unit. And then Becky, who's had her problems with Zoe and Trish, but also a long history with Damage Control. So it's just got these 5 warring partners, and Zelina Vega was there to hit people with flip-flops.
But you had Trish and Becky warring, and then someone would get in the way of them, and they'd gang up to take them out. And then they look at each other and go back to fighting again. Yeah. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, when Becky and Trish did that double suplex and then stood up and were like, yeah, let's get back to this.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
Becky hit Trish with a man slam off the announcer's table onto a ladder bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like Sting doing the big dives. What's happening here? I never thought my eyes would see stuff like this.
I mean, me and Dan were saying this on the live reactions last night. We're like, this is not just Trish's first Money in the Bank match. This is Trish's first ladder match.
Wow. And
she went into this full force. She didn't go in there like some big stars or big names in ladder matches. They're like, I don't really fancy taking those bumps. I'll do my one spot, but then I'll spend most of it on the outside, just, leaning down a little bit. No, she put herself in every single spot that she possibly could. And to give the crowd their money's worth, I thought she was so good in this match. I thought Becky was awesome. There is still a big debate about who she was cosplaying as, because she came out and I was like, oh, she's Rogue. And then some other people were like, no, she's Phoenix. And then I check on Twitter and it was like, no, she's Rogue. And then some other people were like, no, she's Banshee. And some other people, no, she's Siren. And they're all
Dragon Ball Z.
And then they're all sharing photos. And it was like, oh, maybe X-Men characters aren't as uniquely designed as we all thought.
So in one part of this, Zoe handcuffed Becky, but she never got the other cuff on. So Becky, for the last portion of this match, has just a dangling handcuff from her wrist. And she's up with Bayley, which is awesome in itself. Becky and Bayley on the top of the ladder. And Becky fish hooks Bayley's mouth to drag her down with the handcuff.
Such a good spot.
So good. They get to the bottom. Io Sky looks at them and just handcuffs them between the rungs of the ladder.
So now they can't lift their hands up, which means they can only climb up so far, and they can't reach up to it. And then Io Sky, brilliantly in this, I think is a visual thing, climbed over Bayley in order to get the briefcase.
Yeah. It's poetic. It's just pure pro wrestling storytelling in terms of, there's no dialogue there. It's just physicality through combat, simulated combat. This is the best finish of the year.
Easily so. And like you, it was my match of the night. I loved the finish. I loved all the action. Just forgot that someone pointed it out in the chat. The powerbomb, the sunset flip powerbomb that Zelina Vega did onto Zoe Stark. And she just got some hang time on that flip round. It's like time stood still. And she slammed her down into that ladder. Yeah. Bloody hell.
Really, really, really great match. It's so nice to sit here and go, that was an objectively great match, as opposed to what I feel like I usually have to do in WWE women's ladder matches. Oh, yeah, that was, they had some good choreographed spots.
Yeah, very well rehearsed.
This was genuinely good.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Well done.
Match of the night.
Then we got Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. Only went like 12 minutes for the World Heavyweight Championship match.
It is the secondary belt.
I thought it was very different to the matches that led up to it. It felt like that Bobby Roode versus Andrade style NXT takeover main event. But didn't get enough time to fully expand into that prestige.
Crowd went into this as much as they were for other things. They're slightly burned out by the ladder match that had preceded it. So they were they were singing Seth's song, but it wasn't as enthusiastic as some places have been singing Seth's song, which is, bizarre considering how much they were into a lot of other people on this show.
Finn worked over Seth's rib cage, which was taped up. But the big part was when Priest comes out in the last couple of minutes with the briefcase, and everyone's like, "Oh, hello,
triple threat,
it's exciting." And you've got the context there of Seth having cashed in his Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania 31, and Seth's in the ring. Just loads of wonderfully parallel lines in terms of each man's past. But Finn got distracted by this. So even though Finn really had it won at one point, he hit stomp outside, he hit like 2 coup de grace outside and was going for a third in the ring. He got slightly distracted by Damian standing up.
Yeah, Priest just stood up, and it was that momentary distraction that was enough for Balor to miss the coup de grace and get hit by the stomp for the Rollins win.
Which fine, it works. You can tell the story of Judgment Day. That's fine, steady storytelling. But I thought you had an opportunity here to just go top tier craziness. Just give Finn the belt, and Damian immediately cashes in. Finn is kicked out of the Judgment Day.
I know, but there's not a cat in hell's chance that Finn would ever win in the belt. Unfortunately, here I don't think. But you're right. Like you may as well have done. Like you turned Ronda babyface. You may as well have just done.
And that's set up. That whole story's set up for 7 years.
At least it's actually set up this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I totally buy into that. It's just that it never felt like Finn was ever going to win this match. I got Damian Priest in the press conference. I was like, I stood up because I thought he'd won the match. So I was standing up, getting ready to celebrate with him.
They can string that out a lot. I'm excited to see where Judgment Day take that.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I gave it 97%. I've really screwed my rating system because I started off so high for the pay-per-views.
Yeah, well, I said to you earlier, you're going to have to start breaking that percentage rating scale.
I might have to. They do it with IQ points every now and then. I'm just going to lower everything by 20. And then that'll give me some space at the top.
Yeah.
I might have to, it's like Extreme Rules. I was so happy that Bray Wyatt came back, and I was blown away by that angle. That's at like 95%. And that is not a 95% pay-per-view.
It really isn't. But we all told you that at the time, though.
And why don't you want me to love things?
No, we're not telling you not to love things. We're telling you to love things appropriately at the level they're supposed to be at.
I'll do that when you behave appropriately to Kong Skull Island.
That is a 5-star
I'm still
movie.
on that.
That's a
I'm still
5-star
on
movie.
that.
It's been 5 years. You need to get off that train. It's a 5-star movie.
Do we have any shout-outs?
Well, I'd have given it 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Well, I thought both the ladder matches and the main event were superb. Everything else was broadly fine.
And the Cena and the Drew.
But the Cena thing was half of a good segment.
And the Drew.
The Drew thing was awesome.
And the Shayna.
No, not for me.
Sounds like an awful lot of great stuff happened.
And everything else was broadly fine.
Better than Forbidden Door.
Cool. No, we're going to get into the rest of your bank statements, in fact, speaking of AEW. So please continue to get those in. Ding, 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 WrestleTalk.com/support. This is your final call for them, and we are kicking things off with Ryan, who says, Roman being called a tribal wanker is the highlight of my weekend. Kevin says, my 2 favorite moments in the main event, Jey finding out that he's facing Roman and taking off his shirt, the tape on his hands and getting ready to fight. Also, Jimmy could have hit the 1D with Jey, but he chose to tag him and let him prove that he is main event Jey Uso. I'm just Marcus. The Usos kicked out and I cheered. Jey pinning Roman made me cheer so loud that I think I woke up my neighbors. But I was so happy I cried. I'm so on board with Jey getting to end Reigns' run. Dan says, Ollie, like you said, Cody beats Roman at Mania, but how do you drag out that title reign until then? Still feel that SummerSlam and Payback make the most sense to do it, being a full 3 years since Roman returned. I feel Cody can beat someone else if he just wants the title.
Yeah, I think so too.
James C. Morgan, did you guys see the tweet that showed Roman getting pinned being compared to the first time Roman got pinned on the main roster? It's the exact same. Jey splash with over Jimmy to pin Roman. We talked about that earlier. Nate here says, I get what you guys are saying about Cody being a bigger star than Jey, but personally, I feel like Jey beating Roman for the title makes the most sense for the story purpose. It starts and ends with Jey versus Roman for the title. I'm in complete agreement. That's what I've said from day dot when we go back to WrestleMania. Storyline-wise, yes. Business-wise, Cody made the most sense. But that was also in a time when you only had 1 world title. Now you've got 2. You can have Jey win the world title. Up next, we have got the Mayor of Painesville, Dan, who says, hey, Ollie and Luke, I hope you're enjoying your Sunday, even though you have to work. I loved Money in the Bank. It was such a fun show. There was no very bad match. The first ladder match could have been better, but it was fine. Women's tag also, LA Knight forever. Dark73 says, hey lads, really fun watching Money in the Bank with you last night. Not sure if this was brought up, but the person who threw the Prime Ball at Logan was actually KSI.
Was it?
Pete Hamilton says, maybe the only person at the show that was glad LA Knight didn't win Money in the Bank last night. That's what Pete thinks he is. While he was the most over star there, Priest has the better storyline going forward. Hopefully, LA can get a big profile match at SummerSlam to start his main event push. Going by what Triple H said about him in the press conference, he is this generation's Zack Ryder. Raider JJ, I'm not hoping this happens, but what if when Pete goes to cash in on Seth, Finn tries to help or interfere and he costs Priest his chance at the world title? I don't want it to happen, but this is WWE, and so it is very likely.
I could see them doing that. And I don't necessarily think that's bad.
Me neither. Will Campbell said, number 1, the finish of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match absolutely ruled. Number 2, ow, Jey's knees on that Uso splash that finished off Roman. 3, while I wanted LA Knight to win the briefcase, I think Priest was actually a really, really good shout for it as well. Dan here says, with Priest, I feel Balor needs to have the title, and then Priest loses the title to Gunther. If you could book a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match between AEW and WWE for both men and women, what would it be? Lastly, love you all, WrestleTalk for life.
Elite versus Bloodline. Get the Bloodline back together somehow.
That's the match, right? Matt Hennessy said, I saw a clip on Twitter this morning with Drew return, and Michael Cole literally says the rumors and reports over the last few months of Drew's WWE demise were untrue. And in the press conference, Tripp seems pretty confident that he is staying. He has to be staying.
Yeah, definitely.
We have a missing username here. It's a Streamlabs issues. Please do let our moderators know. It says, hi guys, back on the train from Cornwall. Was at the O2 last night and it was deafening. LA Knight plus Butch being super over. Drew returning. Io Sky winning. Roman being a tribal you know what. London 701 kicked ass. Jam that jam for London Mania.
Sounds like a 97% show to me.
Tiroler Marcus. Thank you for yesterday. It was the best night of my life. As I told you yesterday, Ollie, if you will do this again for WrestleMania 40, I will come again all the way from Austria just for the watch party.
I spoke to him. Yeah, came from Austria. I had someone there from Korea.
Flew over. I mean, they were doing other things as well, but we're also here just for our watch party. It's incredible. Ash has gifted 1 membership, which has gone to Sean Lindsay. Oh. Thank you very much. Got a missing username here. Please do let our moderators know. It says, big thank you to WrestleTalk, partsFUNknown, and No Rosbard. Lovely. Catching up on all the older content. I'm now a Patreon. You all do great entertaining work and a watch party now on the bucket list to meet you all in person. Jam, that's jam. Harriet Manga Girl. Hey, he's been a member for 7 months in a row. Says, hey guys, had a brilliant time last night at the watch party. Fantastic atmosphere from beginning to end, shared with amazing people.
A lot of people have pointed out Harriet in the live reactions in the comments.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I love that person's facial reactions.
Yeah. She gets over because of the reaction she does for my GM as well for Monday Night War. Retro Station 1989 says, hi fellas, sending something for Luke. A second punk ice cream treat wrapper and something secret, but I guarantee you will love. Thanks for all the commentary, honestly, and essential journalism. Thank you, and to all your families. And that's from Retro Station.
Oh, thank you very much.
And Jack Wolf here says, the atmosphere at the Long Arm was insane. Thank you for an incredible event, WrestleTalk. My highlight was Steve Neck's sad.
Oh, was this at Quizlemania?
Yes. So we were doing poetry for Neanderthals, or wrestling for Neanderthals. The idea is you get given a wrestling concept and you have to describe it in monosyllabic words. And Sullivan's was pile driver, and he was like head in knees, and Dan just wasn't getting it, and so he just went Steve Neck sad.
Did Dan get it off of that?
Yeah,
that's good. That's funny.
Well, that's all we got time for on the show. Thank you all so much.
Just see if no more have come in. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and for everyone who came out yesterday to join us in the Long Arm Pub and Brewery. It was awesome. It was, genuinely, they're special, aren't they?
They are special,
very, very nice.
We're hoping to be able to see you again at SummerSlam in that same building, although Sleepy Boys this time, because it'll be overnight.
But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. That's been Luca and DAD. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam.